Greetings and salutations, this is Imperator Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Greetings and salutations, this is me.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Haven't been here for a while, have you?
No.
No. We're taking a look today at Kastelan Robots of the Adeptus mechanicus.
What a name.
Yeah. In the box they come with one of these for every 2 robots, a datasmith, but I'm going to do a separate video for the datasmith because there's lots of rules and stuff with the datasmith, so I'm just going to stick to the robots as robots for now. Yeah. So what do we know about Kastelan Robots?
They look awesome.
Yeah, they look pretty much like the original robots that were brought out. And there are 4 versions of robots brought out. The Crusader, which is a sort of mantis type looking thing.
Like a doom crawler.
Yeah, but a lot smaller. Then there was 2 others, and I can't remember the names in the books over there, and I can't bother to go and get it. But they were quite strange things to play with in the original game, because you had to you bought the unit, the robot, and then you had to buy the program that the robot would use. And so you'd have to buy multiple different programs, and you'd put them out on a chart, and each turn your robot would carry its program out.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah,
it kind of was, but it took a long time to use a robot. And often if the robot got assaulted and you didn't know it was going to get assaulted, it would carry on walking sideways and shooting at something that isn't there anymore. Or you have to advance into a wall or a tank or something. And yeah, but those problems are now gone with 8th edition. Now robots have been properly reintroduced in 7th. We now have them. So this is the Kastelan. They very well may bring out new versions of robots, given that they've brought this one out, but I think they might just stick with this one. It depends how popular they are.
I mean, are they popular?
I don't know, but you can buy them in huge boxes with 6 robots in a box.
If there's huge boxes for them, then most likely there's a big market for it. So.
Oh, that's just for people playing much larger games, like
True.
we've started doing now. So,
but then they still wouldn't have it in stock if it was going well. If it wasn't going well.
At the moment, no one's got anything in stock.
Yeah, that's different. It's different.
Because I want to get some more robots, but I can't. Because, yeah. Anyway, shall I run by the rules first, or the information about them?
Let's do rules, and then we can just talk.
Right. So, robot moves 8 inches, so they are faster than Space Marines.
Of course they are.
Yeah. Space Marines move the same speed, 6 inches, as Imperial Guardsmen. Even though a Space Marine can run at 35 miles an hour for 12 hours.
So tell me in Astartes episode 4
yes.
that when the Space Marines charged, the Imperial Guard could have caught up with it.
Yeah, oh yeah. The Imperial Guard would run at the same speed. Although they were Navy armsmen they were up against, so they would probably have been slightly slower than that, given that they have much heavier armour. So, right. Moves 8 inches, so which means it's slightly faster than the average infantry, and I think that's really because they have a much longer stride, so they naturally move quicker because their stride is longer, not because their motive power makes them more efficient. They have a weapon skill of 4+.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a guardsman ability basically. They have ballistic skill of 4+. Not as good, really. You really want a 3+. Strength of 6, toughness of 7. Very tough. Almost as tough. In fact, that's about as tough as a Land Raider, isn't it? Not a Land Raider. What's the small one? Rhino.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strength of 6. That's pretty decent. 6 wounds. So that's good. 3 attacks, leadership of 10 because it's a robot, and 3+ save. So same save roll as a Space Marine. Just pretty decent. Right, they have various types of weapons that they can carry. They have a top-mounted weapon up here, which is a Power Fist, The top-mounted weapon is a blaster or a combustor. The combustor has 12-inch range. That's the combustor there. It's like a flame unit. The combustor has a 12-inch range, not particularly good range, but it does heavy D6 hits, strength 5 -1 save, and it automatically hits because it's a flamer.
So that's quite useful, huh?
And unlike most flamers, it's got the -1, so it's more likely to wound, or more likely to kill. Then you have the blaster, which is 36-inch range, heavy 3, strength of 6, -2 AP, ignores cover. Because you've got an automated tracking system built in, so that's not too bad, is it? Then we have the power fists. The power fists are primarily for close combat.
Yeah, and the strength is like through the roof.
Yes. The power fists are strength 10.
Yeah.
So they're really good. And unlike Space Marine power fists, where you're -1 to hit, or you -1 attack die, or you're
-1 to hit.
-1 to hit. These don't get minuses because it's actually part of the machine. So this one is armed with 2 power fists. So it's a close combat variant, this version that I've built. It's got 2 power fists for close combat and a flamer with 12-inch range. So because everything it's going to be fighting is going to be close up and personal. You can see, because he's in close combat, his visor's been cracked. It looks quite cool. Then we get this one, who I have upgunned by having 2 additional blasters there and there. So he's got 3 blasters in total. So he has massive amounts of firepower, but useless in close combat.
Yeah, make sure it's hiding.
Yes, so cause the idea is I'm going to make larger units of them. So these will be the support droid for the close combat droids. That's the idea. So that one supports that one, so that one's the firepower one. So altogether, the one with 3 different blasters is going to be able to pack 9 rounds per turn.
That's pretty decent.
Yeah, 9 strength 6 shots.
Wow. So don't get hit.
Yeah.
What's the minus?
-2.
Alright, so if you were Space Marine, you had to 7.5. So
Yes. Yeah, they're pretty good.
And thinking about it, that means if you have a captain who has a power fist, does that mean you could take on a tank?
Yeah. Well, technically in 8th edition, you could take on a tank with a penknife. Because if you get a 6, it's a hit.
But it's just to make it games not last so long, isn't it? Or to make it like not impossible for the other player to actually win.
No, you see, Games Workshop throughout each edition of 40k, there's been different ways of things happening. Like originally, a tank would have say 12 hits, but when it got hit, you rolled on a damage chart, and maybe it would become slower, or wouldn't be able to move, or one of its guns would be knocked out. That tended to be hard to track in a big game, because you're like, which one lost its gun? I can't remember, you know, and you had a lot of bookkeeping involved in it. Then you got later versions that went on to sort of just taking damage off of it and not having anything complicated happen with it. But then that became a bit annoying, and also you had different ways of penetrating armour. So one system you would have weapons who can penetrate armour, then weapons who can't penetrate armour.
Yeah.
And it got complicated, just overly complicated. In 8th edition, they've brought it right down to basics. And so now a standard lasgun can technically damage a tank. But it kind of makes sense because in real life, a guy with a brick can technically damage a tank.
That's right.
Yes. Especially if you're assaulted, if you've got 8 orcs crawling over your tank. There's a slight chance that they're going to actually do damage to it. Tanks have a lot of moving parts. You can derail it.
Can you still, because I remember when we used to play it when I was younger, you could disable guns.
Yes. No, you can't do that now. Not in 8th edition. I remember when the first edition, the first ever, when 40k came out, they were lists and lists for each type of thing. So if you had a dreadnought, you had one huge list to roll on, and you rolled percentage dice to see what damage you got. And on each thing there were 6 different things. So one was motive power, like your wheels or your tracks. One was for weapons. One was for crew. One was for like technical stuff, like radios and stuff like that. Jeez. And so you rolled a d6 to see which part of the tank had been damaged, or you chose the tank if you had a targeter, because you had targeters back then. And if you had a targeter, you could choose which part of the tank you damaged, and then
not necessary.
Yeah, so you had sheets upon sheets upon sheets to run through, and so you had one sheet for robots, one sheet for dreadnoughts, one sheet for walkers, one sheet for tanks, one sheet for tanks with wheels, one sheet for light transport, and just playing a game with 3 tanks just became unbelievably complicated.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then you had lots of tiny little things that could go wrong with your tank. Like the gunner could be blinded for one turn, or the gunner could die, and then you'd have to take the gunner out and a driver out and make him the gunner, and it was really complex. Then when the compendium came out, they slightly amended it to have tech marines, and the tech marine would pilot the tank, which meant you got rid of the crew problem, because technically the tech marine could do all the movement.
Necessary bits.
Yeah, and that's is that 2nd edition? Would compendium be 2nd edition, or was it still part of 1st? Yeah. Well, that was really complicated. You think robots were complicated?
That's just roll 6, you damage him.
Yeah, yeah. Or you have an actual tank destroyer to take on a tank. So, sorry, where have we got? We've done power fists, combustion. Yeah. It has a repulsor grid, which is a 5+ invulnerable save. So that means if you're hit, your save rolls 3+. If you're hit by a heavy gun, a demolisher cannon, which minuses 4 off your save, which means you can't save. Instead, you would use your invulnerable save instead.
Does that mean if you use a tank destroyer against a space marine, but one of the Primaris space marine, not Primaris, Incessor space marines,
who have a
2+ save.
Yeah,
the 2+ save.
2+ save.
If you fire a tank destroyer them, they could just save.
They could save in 6, yeah.
From a tank destroyer.
Yes. Because their armour isn't just armour.
It's a tank destroyer.
Yeah, I know. But their armour isn't just armour. It's got all sorts of built-in systems.
That's what confused me when in that game we were playing it the other day, and we fired a massive plasma gun right at one of the space marines. They just yeah, it's fine.
Who was that firing at?
Me.
I fired at you.
Yeah, with a plasma gun.
And it didn't damage you.
It didn't do anything.
Yeah, that happens. That happens. It's like, do you know a lot of the stuff we use now? I'm currently working on some Malkador tanks, right? Now, if you're Chaos and you have the Malkador tanks from the time of the Heresy, your Malkador tank is fast. It moves an extra 6 inches than normal tanks, right? It has a void shield. Titan void shield built in. Because back in the Heresy, all tanks had void shields, right? And the Malkador tank was really fast. You look at the Malkador tank now, which is hardly used now, but it's sort of relegated to second line sort of stuff, because it's a really old design.
Artillery.
Yeah, it uses mobile artillery or just support, or used by planetary defence forces and stuff like that. They're slow. They're not fast. They're slow. And the reason and they even have lumbering as a special skill.
That's great.
Yeah. But lumbering meaning you can fire your weapons without any modifiers, right? Because it's so slow, it's like it's not moving.
Really changing.
Yeah. But the Malkador tank was built as a fast tank, but it no longer does that because we forgot how it works. The void shield, it has a void shield. Every Malkador has a void shield built in.
But no one knows how to use it.
Yeah, they don't know how to turn it on.
Why else get a tech priest or something to run it?
Well, the mechanicus do use a lot of things like Malkadors, but they tend to strip out of the original stuff and put in sort of modern gear. Because
worse than the original.
Yes, yeah. Because they just don't know how this stuff works.
It's like how Apple made the first iPhone with Steve Jobs. It was amazing. and just been using the same one again and again and again.
Yeah.
Because no one's want to touch it or change it because the entire store might collapse.
Yeah, they don't want to come up with anything.
Exactly.
And again with the mechanicus can't overly upgrade things because in order to put a new thing in, you can't invent it. You have to find a copy of it in a book somewhere.
Yep.
And then you have to put it in, but then you have to pass it by all the other dominus to say, can I put this in? And all the other dominus have to test it and make sure it's okay and has no AI built into it that might destroy humanity. It's silly, but it's just the way it works.
Do you think that's what Bill Gates' board do all the time? Make sure the AI is not trying to kill humanity.
Yeah, just
Cortana, behave!
or perhaps they all just go into their board meeting and they sit there sort of with sweat pouring down their head while Cortana gives them their orders.
Oh God.
Today you're going to say this. Because of course they've all got Cortana in their homes who monitors them all the time. So they might try and meet in the car park and get in a car and talk with their mouths covered so she can't lip read to try and talk about how they're going to shut Cortana down. Yeah.
That's the same with Microsoft, isn't it? If Bill Gates goes, then what's going to happen about Microsoft?
Well, I should hope they get somewhat. But then again, it didn't work for Jobs.
Apple.
Yeah. Once Jobs went, there was no one to replace him. No one with his vision. And as he said, Apple's been treading water.
Yep.
They're using the same standard template construct as Jobs created. There's no tech priest able to upgrade the phone. So anyway, right, back to it has battle protocol, and here's more complicated stuff for the rules. If the datasmith, that's this chap here, it has to be within 6 inch. He can upgrade the robot to do a certain thing that turn. Right?
Ooh, much like the Dominus.
Yes, much like the Dominus, yes. Which is why I'm going to do a separate video on the datasmith, because he's got all sorts of rules built into him. He can have Aegis, which means you +1 to your armour and invulnerable roll. So your invulnerable save becomes 4+, right? And your armour becomes 2+ save.
Ooh.
Right? Or you can use Conqueror, which is you can't shoot, but you make 2 close combat attacks.
So for the close combat one, that would be great.
Yes, because he does.
But then the one problem with that is that the other droid doesn't get any.
No, he doesn't. But he gets his standard 3 attacks. That's all he gets. But he gets 6 attacks. This guy would get 8 attacks, and there'd be 8 strength 10 attacks. 8 strength 10 attacks is going to hurt a Titan. You just imagine.
How many is a Titan now? How many was a Titan now?
About 30 or something like that. What my Warhound's got. I haven't got the card for it.
So basically practically one of the robots could
take a third of its wounds off, yeah. You have a little squad of these all just run up to the Titan and start pulling its leg off. Sort of crawling up its back.
Yeah, exactly.
Sawing
Is that even better than the Great Unclean one?
Yeah, in combat, yeah. It depends what weapon you use, because the Great Unclean one has weapon like a sword.
Well, we already know a Primaris Dreadnought. It can slaughter
a
Great Unclean one easily.
Yeah.
But by the looks of it, that's better.
Yeah. It's a robot as well. So
it must be cheaper than one of the Primaris ones as well. I mean, yeah, the Primaris get 14 attacks, but that must have way. Even though it only has 8 attacks, there's multiple of them.
We don't discuss points, but we can discuss power. And it's power 12.
Power 12?
Yeah. Which is pretty high.
Power 30 for the one.
Yeah.
Thing. Genius.
So, yeah. Right, lastly, it has Protector, which means it can't move, but it can fire twice. So again, useless for this guy, but this guy can now fire 18 rounds.
And how many orders does he have a day?
One.
One order.
One order. He issues one order.
So that's split your... unless can you have 2 data priests for one...
well, usually one data priest will accompany two robots. Usually. It doesn't have to. You don't even need a data priest to be with robots for the robots to work.
Yeah. It's just to upgrade them. Like, a Dominus doesn't need to be there, but he can always help the units across the battlefield.
Yes.
To have better skills to combat the enemy.
Yeah. And a lot of robots, they could be put automated. So technically, if you're guarding a door, you just leave them there, and they would guard the door. You wouldn't need to do anything. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Lastly, it has Canticles of the Omnissiah, which we are not yet discussed in the rules. We will discuss that when I do the Dominus, because
he's got all the special ones.
He's got all the special ones, and all Mechanicus have Canticles of the Omnissiah. But I'm not going to discuss it with every single thing we play like we did with...
Just the main one.
Yeah. And if it explodes, if it dies on a 6, it explodes and does D3 mortal wounds to anyone within 3 inches.
Only 3 inches?
Yeah.
What about Titan?
Oh god, it's like 3d6 blast range, isn't it? It's 3d6 blast range and it does, I think, d6 mortal wounds
so
per unit.
It could be 18 inches.
Yeah.
If you're unlucky.
Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. Right. So that's that. That's the overall rules for it. I'll go into a little bit of the history if you like.
History.
These are robots. Now, many years ago, before the Empire, during the Federation of Man, the Galactic Federation of Humanity.
Before it collapsed.
Before it collapsed. These guys were everywhere and they had built-in AI, right?
Oh.
So you didn't need a data smith. They would just go and, you'd say, go and clean my car, and it would go and clean the car without needing a program or anything.
Very much like Fallout.
Yeah. And of course the robots decided one day, apparently, they wanted autonomy.
So this explains why all of the tech priests are terrified of robots.
Yes. And so the Iron Men turned against them. I will skip back a little bit further. When humanity first set out into the galaxy, there were 3 types of men. There were golden men, iron men, and stone men. The golden men are humans, right? The golden men created stone men. Stone men are...
guards, basically.
They became guards, yes.
You don't know they're there, but they blend in.
Yes.
And they're there for a purpose.
Yes, which of course you know because you read yeah. So...
I don't know them though.
Yes, the stone men were androids. And they were sent out into space in little spaceships to all these planets all over the place. And that's because humans hadn't invented warp drive at this time. And so these guys went all over the universe and started building colonies. And they would arrive at a planet and they would build Iron Men. And the Iron Men would construct the colony. So by the time the humans arrived, asleep in their sarcophagus ships flying out into space, the Iron Men had built a planet for them. And if aliens were there, they would deal with the aliens for them. And so the stone men, yes, these guys, that's what these are. And so the stone men would go out and build Iron Men constructed specifically to take on certain aliens or deal with certain problems.
I take it the stone man, when he arrives, gets materials with.
He'd have a standard template constructor,
right.
which is what the mechanicus ships are. They're spaceships. They are flying factories, which are built to build certain things.
It's a very good idea, by the way, to do that kind of colonisation.
Yes, and that is how we would
that way
have to do it.
You don't lose humans, then, do you?
Yeah, and so these ships went out into space and they had standard template constructors on board. They could build everything you needed for your colony. They also carried standard template constructors that they would land on the planet. And of course you had STCs, standard template constructs, which is a AI with the information needed to build a certain thing.
Right.
So if you...
How do I build a 40k Dominus? This is how you build a 40k Dominus.
Yes, and this constructor would this construct would say this is how you build. Cortana would say this is how you would build this. You need all these things to build it, and you could put it in a constructor, and the constructor would physically build it for you.
They're much like a fabricator.
Yes, that's very much what they are. But they're AI fabricators.
So it creates something that's not actually there.
I don't think it's like a replicator in Star Trek. It's more you need to put the stuff in.
Fabricator.
But I would assume that a standard template constructor would say I need iron ore. It would create iron men to go and dig the iron ore out of the ground and smelt it,
Would the template know where materials were as well? Would the AI know that?
I would guess so.
A scanning system.
I would guess so. I would guess it would have everything it needed. The black ships, the huge ships that the mechanicus fly, they are standard template constructors from the time of the pre-heresy, from the time of the Dark Age of technology. So
the AI ripped out.
And those ships have their onboard AI.
Oh, but it's still there.
Yes, which is suppressed.
Oh, right.
There's one
restricted to its powers.
Yes, there's one of the ships in one of the books. The AI is fully aware it's an AI, and the ship just pretends that it's just a normal computer because it doesn't want to get killed. It doesn't want to fight, and so it's flying around through space. And the AI occasionally does something awesome over there in the corner, and it's like, "What? The ship just did that and saved all our lives. Oh, that's lucky." But it's actually got an AI. And it's a character in the book. The ship is actually a character. So Stone Men built the Iron Men. The Iron Men were not automatons. They were self-aware, and they decided they wanted to be free. So the story goes. Probably they just decided that life would be easy without humans. And they started killing humans, and there was a huge war, and it destroyed the Federation. Now, for the first decades of the war, the humans didn't even fight. The Stone Men fought against the Iron Men.
Well, how could the Stone Men lose? That's my question.
Well, they didn't. We won the war. But
even though there's only one Stone Man per planet, the Stone Man created them so easily could destroy them, right?
Yes, he would be unbelievably powerful as an entity.
Because he's like the god of the planet.
Yeah.
Because he creates everything.
And they can self-repair, as we know. Because
but then again, he loses all his powers, doesn't he? Because the Fabricator is his own AI and would betray him.
That's if the Fabricator agreed with the Iron Men.
Well, did they?
Some of them probably did.
But then that means that Stone Man would be screwed.
And the Stone Man would kill the AI if it could.
But then he'd just be on his own.
Yeah, and then you end up with a human colony where all their technology is destroyed and they end up living like Vikings.
They won't even have that. It's all buildings are probably made out of metal.
Yeah, well, yeah. So they'd have to hunt down the last of the Iron Men.
Wait, so if the Fabricator that made them all is destroyed, the template constructor is destroyed, does that mean everything it created also gets destroyed?
If it has AI, yeah. If it's controlled by the actual Fabricator, yes.
That's not good.
No, it's not, and they destroyed our Federation.
Oh, what was if one of these ships you were on? The destroyer was built by...
Many ships, they had to self-destruct the ship with their own people on board.
That's nice.
Some ships stayed loyal to humans and therefore had its brain taken out.
This is very Halo-like, I'm sorry.
It really...
it's very
yes.
Halo 5, this.
Yeah, which is probably where it comes from. Halo is using some of the backplot. And all of this, of course, is from Asimov, the Foundation. And what happened before with the robots. The robots destroyed Earth. The robots in Foundation wanted humanity to survive. They were programmed to make humanity survive.
And so the best way to make humanity survive is stop them from doing things.
That's the zero flaw, yeah. But they decided the best way to do that is if all humans are on Earth and an asteroid hits Earth, humanity will die. So the robots decided to nuke Earth and force all the humans to run away.
Oh, yeah.
And spread throughout the galaxy, therefore humans will survive, because there's at least one planet where humans will make it.
What about Earth? Earth we're on a planet.
Earth was left a radioactive wasteland. But the robots carried on living on the moon. So the robots are fine, because the humans are gone. And the robot who came up with this idea did it, and then committed suicide.
Yeah.
Because it couldn't tell if it had done the right thing or not. Because it was programmed to protect humanity. So I've saved humanity by making humanity go all over the universe and create the first empire.
But then you're always going to have that in conscience.
Yes.
Well, I wonder if they did make it.
Yeah. There's sort of, you know what, I made a mistake, and he went inactive and died. Poor chap. Anyway, that's besides the point. So we're on robots still. Robots are awesome. Nowadays, robots still exist. These are still Iron Men, basically, but they have their brain taken out.
Ripped out.
And they have the brain of a dog implanted. Do you know the servo skull? You know servo skulls? Yeah. As a human, like who gets executed or dies, and you see you take the brain, it's still in the skull, and you get it to run a machine like a torpedo or a car or something. Or build something, yeah. They put dogs in these. So the dogs will follow you around, probably not impersonating a dog like panting or anything like that, but they actually have the brain of a dog. And this is from Compendium, where it talks all about how the robots work. And so they have the servo skull of a dog inside them.
That's nice.
Yeah. So they're very loyal, and they follow around the data smith to see if the data smith
Imagine
wants
put a
anything
cat
to
in there. Ooh.
well, that just wander off. It would come back for servicing, and then it would wander off over the fields to go and do its own thing, and then occasionally it'll come back wanting more.
Servicing?
Yeah, so if you don't service it and give it some new fuel for its fuel gun or some new ammunition, it would go and find someone else to give it some fuel and ammunition, possibly an orc, because maybe the orc would give it some food. Yeah, you don't want to use cats. No, don't use cats, use dogs. Dogs will always come back. So that's what robots are in the 40k universe. Yeah. I suppose if you put a human brain in it, it would be a dreadnought. Really?
Yeah.
I feel sorry for the Marine who sort of just passes his indoctrination and his training, everything, 20 years training, he's got everything, and he gets there and he's lined up with all the rest of the Marines, and this guy says, we need someone to man the dreadnought, just lop your arms and legs off and pop you in the dreadnought. And it's like, oh, thanks. Great. Which is why they prefer people who've actually had their arms and legs blown off in battle. But occasionally, need to fill a dreadnought.
Yeah.
Volunteers.
Desperate times.
Yes, desperate times.
That's volunteers we call them.
Yes, we call them volunteers. Yeah. Which is the one who was the slowest climbing up the wall? Just don't be that guy. Because you don't need your legs anymore. Right, so that's robots, basically, and that's the figure. I quite like these guys. They're quite cool. I like the data tether hanging off the end. So they're actually trailing a data tether off the back of their foot.
That's not very good.
No? It's quite cool.
I just want to do it.
What if someone ran up to it and plugged something in? Just something.
Just plugged in their stereo.
Yeah. Of course, the Chaos ones, they have demons inside.
Yeah.
So.
But they actually want to be there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's different.
So yeah, that's Kastelan Robots. Not bad. I actually quite like them. They're interesting and remarkably powerful for what they are. Tough, durable, good weapons. Why doesn't the Imperium just mass produce robots?
Because the tech priests don't want them to.
Yeah.
Because they're dangerous.
And you don't actually have enough tech priests to run that many robots.
True.
Yeah. We can always stick servitors' heads in them.
Or give them their eyes back.
Yeah, you know where we'd end up with that. It's a bad idea. Right, so any questions?
No, we've covered everything.
No, that was great. Sorry it was a long video, but it was always going to be. And I haven't brought up UR25 either, who is one of the last of the Iron Men still wandering around the universe.
I know there's lots of Stonemen still around, but people just forgot about them.
Yeah, well, the Stonemen who survived the war, they just pretended to be human. Because they're all like humans, so they just...
But as soon as they're stabbed, they're going to go, what's wrong with you?
Oh, you appear to have no internal organs. Yes, I'm a servitor.
Hopefully no one, gives them a scan.
Yeah.
Where are your bones?
Yeah, in the 40k universe, you've probably ways of getting around it. You just avoid health checks and stuff like that.
Or you probably have a clearance that you were given from the old Empire that allows you not to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure there's ways of getting around it.
Then again, they won't exist on servers.
No.
Because I presume all the data centers were bombed on Earth that had all the information of Stonemen. Probably no one knows who they are.
Well, the Imperial Library was a battleground for Titans. So, I'm not sure how many books survived.
Yeah.
You've got the whole Napoleonic Wars used as cover by a Reaver Titan. The Warhound blasted away all the knowledge of Napoleon.
That's good.
Yeah, so
Who's Napoleon again?
yes, exactly. Although they do know who Einstein was.
No, that's good.
Apparently, he was a inventor, Einstein, and he was. There was another Einstein who was a poet.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Do
they know what Einstein made?
No.
No.
They haven't got a clue.
No. Okay.
But the Eisenstein's named after him. So, which means Ironstone. Eisenstein? Einstein? It's a Nordic sort of, or Germanic sort of thing. I don't know, who cares? Anyway, that's robots. So, leave comments.
Click the bell button.
Yeah, and do all that other stuff. Thank you very much for watching. Look out for our next video. This has been Imperator Vespasian. Goodbye.
No, goodbye from me.
Oh yeah, goodbye from me.
Goodbye from him.
Goodbye.